Clint Yates, Courtney Cronin, David Dennis Jr., Pablo Torre. The news of the day. Danny Hurley staying at UConn. Boom! What it means for the Huskies, what it means for the Lakers. And two hands, one rim, one block, 1-2-0 series lead. Celtics cruising. Let's go around the horn. Ding dong. Danny Hurley turn down service. News of the day. Danny Hurley staying at UConn. The back-to-back champs keep their coach. The dogged pursuit from the Los Angeles Lakers gets denied. The offer Hurley reportedly refused, 6 years, $70 million. Lakers spurn, Huskies rejoice. I don't need to say any more. Courtney Cronin, around the horn to you. Your reaction to today's news.
What a wild 2 months it's been for Dan Hurley. He turns down the Kentucky job. He turns down the Lakers, two jobs that had contracts worth a combined $150 million. I would expect that Brinks truck from UConn to be backing up to his door just about any minute now to make him a top 3 highest paid coach in the men's game. But beyond that, this is a huge win for college basketball as a whole. You keep one of the biggest stars in the coaching ranks in your game. You don't have this mass exodus out of stores. And for a team that's preseason number 3 in ESPN's college basketball rankings, you get to keep that core together to go after something that hasn't been done since the 1970s with UCLA. Dan Hurley hit the recruiting trail hard this season, whether it's Aiden Mahaney, the St. Mary's transfer that they got about a month ago, and in combining that with Alex Caravan, who is back again to help this team get over the hump and go get that third national.
What hump? Wait, what hump is there? They're the back-to-back champions. I love the recruiting trail idea. He gets to say to somebody, I chose you over LeBron James now. That's pretty good. Let's go to David Dennis Jr. on the news of the day. Danny Hurley saying no to the Lakers, yes to UConn.
I want to talk about the no part of this and where this leaves the Los Angeles Lakers. They've had a lot of momentum over the last week or two with the idea that they were going to get the best coach around from college to rejuvenate this franchise, and they've sort of laid everybody else to the wayside, and now they're kind of stuck. What do you do when you get turned down from a date from Beyonce? You don't just go back swiping the Tinder looking for something. Where do you go from there? JJ Redick was already somebody that was looking kind of shaky without experience. Now you're comparing him to Dan Hurley. Everybody else that they are going to have interviews with is being compared to the guy that they thought was going to walk through this door, see LeBron out, and then, take this franchise where it was through the rebuilding period for the next few years. Now they have a really uninspiring coaching class that they have to pluck from and try to get people to get behind that. That is an uphill climb for that Lakers franchise.
You're focusing on the dejuvenation of the Lakers coaching situation. Pablo Torre, to you now.
Yeah, I'm focusing on the come-up, Tony. Like, Danny Hurley, of course, has been a respected college coach. That's not in question. But the idea that he had this would-be dalliance has just risen his stock. And I say this because now he's in the company of Coach K and Jerry Tarkanian. What do I mean by that? All-time great college coaches who said no to the Lakers. The Lakers have done this before. They've looked for the hot name in college basketball and begged them, hey, you get Hollywood, you get the stars, you get this brand and all of it. And those 3 times, the college coach says, I like the stability. That is the opposite of what the Lakers are offering. And so to me, it is about Dan Hurley feeling like now he's atop, of course, this hierarchy in college basketball, rightfully so. And then the Lakers, you're left with the sense that they are just trying anything and throwing it against the wall, which is, again, to David Dennis Jr.'s point, kind of been their MO when it comes to coaches for about a decade now.
And Clinton Yates, you're in Los Angeles. I imagine you're going to start on the Lakers side of it. Please.
Yeah, and the thing about the Lakers side of this is obvious to me, which is that the magic behind the myth is officially evaporated as not real. You can no longer just lean back on the idea of, oh, well, it's LA. Oh, well, it's the Lakers. Oh, well, it's the money. No. The health of the actual franchise matters here. And what is most important to me about this is that Hurley went and visited. He came to Los Angeles. He saw this with his eyeballs and returned and said, no, thank you. That in itself is as much a big deal as the no as it is anything else, because if you look at all the things they've got up in the air. What's going to happen with LeBron? What actually happens in terms of what this front office does from a leadership standpoint? Those are all very big questions that lead to the ultimate analysis of this job isn't that good if you actually have something else. And I think that's a reality check that this franchise needed, that this fan base needed, and on some levels the NBA needed.
Maybe true, but let me push back on the idea that, okay, Beyonce just said no, what do you do now? Danny Hurley's name did come out of nowhere about 4 days ago, right? And they already seemed like they were headed in one particular position. That was J.J. Redick. Is that still the destination, Clinton Yates, or is there another curveball, a Jay Wright name getting floated around?
I don't know that anything is a curveball at this point, but I do think it forces them to answer those questions for their fans as to what's actually happening. What is the plan beyond just grabbing at the next shiny object that comes along in the offseason? I think they've got to make some real decisions about what they're doing and not just say, hey, we're the Lakers. We're going to bring everybody on. That doesn't work anymore, as evidenced by
Courtney Cronin.
Yeah, the perception of the Lakers job maybe isn't as great to people who are not within that realm in the NBA. Obviously, there's the CBA that you have to worry about when you're thinking roster construction here. You've got $51 million tied up in Anthony Davis, a lot of money tied up in LeBron James. And of course, do we know that his coaching style, I'm not talking about the offense and the X's and O's, but would his coaching style have translated well to NBA players? Maybe that's a bigger factor that we need to consider here and why he decided to stay in college.
And Pablo, as bereft of all the Los Angeles Lakers job, nobody wants it anymore. Is that really the truth? Or is this one particular coach saying no is not the end of the world?
I think there's a key question, and the question is LeBron James going to be on this team? And if you are asking that as a coaching candidate and you don't get an answer, Tony, you then maybe find a coaching candidate who turns the answer into a yes. And so that's why I go to JJ, who I think is great beyond LeBron, but I think these are not unrelated questions, and the Lakers can't answer it if LeBron doesn't get his guy, is my read of the situation.
All right, now let's talk last night. The block, a key play, not a game-deciding play. I know how you people cook it. No one play decides the game, but it was a block, or was it a foul? I'll push to the back. Or was it a clank on the rim before the block? Or was it White's block? Or was it Brown's block? You make the call. Boston's defensive stranglehold after the Luka eruption early, keeping Dallas under 100 like it's the 1998 NBA Finals. David, number one takeaway from Boston's win last night and 2-0 lead.
One of the big storylines going into Game 2 was, is Boston going to give us another Game 2 stinker that shows a little bit of lack of focus at home? Mm-hmm. And guess what? Boston gave us a Game 2 stinker in the fact that they could not hit a shot. This is the second team in the NBA Finals that we've seen to win a game after shooting less than 30% from three. 10 for 39. And they were 29% on uncontested field goals. This game was right for them to blow. And guess what? They still won the game. That's a disaster for this Mavericks team. This was right for them to take, and a lot of that falls right at the feet of Kyrie Irving. We can go through the stats. 0 for 8 from 3 so far in the first two games, 13 for 37 in the first two games. But when you look at the actual games, I'm seeing things that I am shocked by. The fact that they're stripping the ball from him, that Tatum is just stripping him clean. He can't get around Brown. He can't shoot over Porzingis. The fact that Kyrie Irving, who's supposed to be the second best offensive player in this entire series, cannot get clean shots up is terrifying for Dallas, and I'm not sure how that gets better.
Pablo Torre, your takeaway.
Yeah, on Friday, Tony, I warned about the one-on-one matchups, right? Can Kyrie win one-on-one? Can he draw a double team to open up shooters? No, the answer, it turns out, is no. And so to me, you're worried about Kyrie one-on-one. You're worried about Luka just looking increasingly broken despite him being a really impressive performer despite the injuries. But mostly you're worried about how the videos that you show to enter this topic are also metaphors for the series. Lots of Celtics doing good things, sometimes simultaneously against outmatched and outmanned Mavericks. The Celtics are deeper. Kristaps Porzingis next to Jaylen Brown in Game 1, Drew Holiday leading the game really as the best player. These are not the guys that you count on when it comes to who's going to be the fatal death blow when we play the Celtics. But the fact that they are tells you a lot about how the Mavericks are undermatched.
Clinton Yates, your takeaway from last night and Boston up 2-0?
The Celtics are a better basketball team, and I think more importantly, we've gotten away from this notion that Jason Tatum has to be the best player on the court at all times in our eyeballs in order for the Celtics to win a basketball game. That is clearly not the case whatsoever, and what Mazzulla has done in terms of focus to get this team in the right place is incredible. Jason Kidd's out here scrambling, trying to play Jedi mind games, talking about who's better, can't even figure out the Gafford versus Lively situation in his own rotation. The Celtics have dismantled this team from a psychological standpoint as far as I'm concerned, and now we know this is the best team in the NBA. It's just a matter of whether or not they can bring home that Larry O'Brien trophy in a matter of 4 games or I guess 5 or 6.
Ooh, and Courtney Cronin.
I wonder who Jason Kidd's now going to say is the best player on the Boston Celtics. They've shown us that they don't need to rely on their 2 superstars to win games. And the guys on this team that we talk the least about, Derek White, Andrew Holiday combined for 44 points last night. The superstars on the other side of that, Luka and Kyrie, had 45. When you have a scoring that's happening in such an abundance like this, 5 players averaging over 15 points a game in 2 games so far in the NBA Finals, it's hard not to project that this Celtics team is going to be able to continue on doing this in a place where they've been very comfortable, which is on the road. They're 6-0 this postseason, playing away from the Garden, and now they get to go try to go up 3-0 in Dallas.
Yeah, a balanced team like that. You know, when you think of NBA champions, you're thinking of superstar, and then the role players. I mean, we haven't seen that maybe since the Detroit Pistons 20-some years ago almost. Take a break right here, buy or sell on the other side.
Welcome back to Around the Horn, coming to you from the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17.
And now, the U.S. Olympic team. Look at this roster. Superstars as they go for their 8th straight gold in Paris. 9 previous Olympic gold medal winners, 3 first-time Olympic rostered players. Of course, with these 12 come those who just didn't make the cut. Enrique Ogunbowale, one of the great scorers in the WNBA. Ariel Atkins, been with the team in Tokyo and then the work up here, not making the roster. And Caitlin Clark. Here's Clark saying she's not disappointed.
Honestly, no disappointment. I think it just gives you something to work for. That's a dream. Hopefully one day I can be there, and I think it's just a little more motivation. We remember that, and hopefully in 4 years, when 4 years comes back around, I can be there.
Clark saying she's not disappointed was not the end of the conversation. And now the question of whether USA Basketball got this roster right comes with other questions. Should they be fielding the best team, the most marketable team, the most marketable, best growing the game team, and whether they should be trying to ride the very real wave of Caitlin Clark popularity? Clinton Yates, how do you see it?
I'm buying this on the micro simply due to rest and basketball most primarily. This woman has played a ton of games in the last season or so, including a bunch starting this WNBA season, and they had a Europe tour before the Iowa season as well. So on the simple risk of injury element, I'm fine with that. On the macro, though, I don't like the implication that one Caitlin Clark is the only way that we can continue to get eyeballs on the women's game based on so many different factors. All of the people that are already on that team are accomplished stars. If we're going to sit around and talk about people we want to see have one last run in other sports, this makes sense to me for this one. I don't think that you can only do it one way. And the implication from a lot of people that, well, it's either Caitlin Clark or I'm not watching, there's not that many people in this world that I think are really that committed to that. So overall, from a marketing standpoint, if you will, their goal is to win gold medals. And that's what they've continued to do, whether they left off people like,
the goal is to win
Candace
gold
Parker
medals.
back in the same year that she won a finals MVP, as it turned out. It's all the same. I think that this is the right decision for this team and for this player.
Pablo Torre?
Yeah, for me, Tony, Team USA has always been about exporting basketball and trying to get people to watch and care about basketball. And so for that reason, I don't think this is a slam dunk argument on either side. I think Caitlin Clark obviously is an edge case when it comes to issuing one of the top 12 players in the WNBA. I think the argument that she isn't is a total fair one, but also I belong to the Lisa Leslie school of basketball promotion, which is that there are probably some casuals out there who hopefully aren't the sort of toxic Swiftie parody characters that we see on Twitter right now arguing on behalf of Caitlin Clark, but are people who are I'd like to see that person, and they come in to a game and they meet everybody else. That's the promise of Caitlin Clark on this team from a marketing perspective. And if I'm Team USA, I don't care that she's tired. I don't care that I'm using her as a tool. It's a tool to allegedly, and I think fairly claim, You are growing the game.
All right, so your
I think there's actual
idea,
logic to
mission
that.
statement for USA Basketball is different than Clinton's. You say growing the game. Clinton says win gold medals. And you alluded to Lisa Leslie. Her saying, I don't know how you leave the country without her. The quote attributed to Leslie came from a few months ago before the roster selection, but is certainly from somebody who's been there and done that. David Dennis Jr., to you now, on what you see, the mission statement of USA Basketball.
Yeah, the mission statement is to win gold medals and represent the United States while growing the game. The part about growing the game, you need to win gold medals in order to do that. And for the history of Women's Team USA Basketball, what they do is they put the roster that puts them best equipped to win gold medals. And there have been a lot of players who have been snubbed along the way. Candace Parker being one of those players. And there can be a healthy sports debate about whether Caitlin Clark should make this team. And I'm of the belief that she is now one of the top 15 players available. Even if Taurasi or whoever would not be there would be a couple of people like Arike who you could put above Caitlin Clark. The problem here is, and what concerns me going forward, is those people on the fringe that do exist, that are in real life, not just internet trolls, politicians, pundits, and people of the like who are using Caitlin Clark as an avatar to lash out at the people who they have disdain for, mainly the makeup of the WNBA, black women et al. And they are using her to go against Team USA. What's going to happen in Team USA that is going to be the big tragedy here is the way that they are treated by those people come the summer. We're supposed to support American teams in the Olympics. I want to see that for this team, even if Caitlin Clark is not on that squad.
And Courtney Cronin, to you now.
The idea that she is a huge snub here, I think, is unfair because take a look at the timing of when this team was made. She's a rookie. She's been in the WNBA for just about a month. I'm with David Dennis Jr. here on this. I don't know if she is one of the top 12 players currently playing. Candace Parker had won multiple MVPs at the time she was snubbed. Nneka Ogwumike was in a similar boat as well. The problem here with the construction of this team and the timing, which is something Caitlin Clark was not able to control in all of this, is that the formulation of Team USA is a multi-year process. The women who are on this team currently have been part of training sessions with Cheryl Reeve and her squad. They know the makeup of this roster. They know the system. They've also played together before. You've got about 7 practices right around the time the WNBA takes a break in August for the Olympics to get this group to gel and then get ready to go over to Paris and contend for a gold medal. Caitlin Clark was not able to participate in any of those training sessions because she was playing at Iowa. And there's no logical argument right now about the players that are currently on this roster and who you would take off and put Caitlin Clark on over unless Chelsea Gray is unable to play due to the foot injury that's
Right, we haven't seen her
play.
play in 9 months. She's been injured. The best point guard in the WNBA last year. Pablo Torre, turn to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that the reason I even argue that this edge case may tip in Caitlin Clark's favor is because this team is so good. They haven't lost since 1992, Tony. In 1992, obviously, another year in which Team USA was used for marketing reasons to the benefit of a league and a sport.
So you
that
do
is the
go
parallel
back
that I'm seeing there.
to popularity and marketing and promotion of the game should be involved in their decision making. You do.
If you're telling me that they're going to win the gold and they can also get this, I'm going to also get this if I'm running Team USA.
Reading the
That's
mission
my
statement of USA
cynical
Basketball.
marketing brain.
Quote, promoting, growing, and elevating the game. So that's not so far off from what Pablo said. And David Dennis Jr., of course, gold medals do help in that. Yes.
As long as the trolls don't show up, I
They
would
do gold
make that
medal on the
clear.
medal
Like,
stand.
I don't
Talk
want
about
them.
elevation.
Don't want them.
Cronin, Dennis, thanks for your time. Yates, Torrey. That's our showdown. Next. Oilers, Panthers, game 2 tonight. Edmonton, confident they could solve Sergei Bobrovsky. They couldn't in game 1, the opening game shutout. How does game 2 get decided? Around the horn, Clint Yates.
I'll take the Oilers. I think that they can break Bobrovsky because those 3 breakaways, those were the opportunities that I thought they came up really unlucky on. Overall, Rob Tallis, the goaltending coach for the Panthers, done a great job. But Draisaitl, they're just too good.
I'm taking Bobrovsky, Tony. I have stopped doubting this man, stopped wondering how can he keep getting away with this. The Panthers' penalty kill has done this to the Rangers. They're doing it again. I understand regression to the mean is a thing. I often claim it.
Why
Not
are
with
you
this guy.
surprised? He's the best goalie in the world. I mean, yes, this shouldn't be surprising. What should have happened was you should have talked about him on Friday's show in our preview extravaganza when that didn't come up. We'll give Yates the point for your penalty there. We'll move on. Florida, Clemson, Super Regionals. We could do a 30 for 30 on this one. How a 3-run season-saving top of the 9th inning home run was immediately outdone by a Willie Mays season-saving bottom of the 9th inning catch by Clemson's Cam Cannarella. Then Clemson taking the lead in the top of the 13th, 10-9 on the home run, only to have manager and assistant coach ejected wildly, only to have Florida turn around and walk it off in the bottom of the 13th and win it 11-10 and advance. Pablo, what?
I believe you said the name Cannarella. That was the name of that kid who did Willie Mays and avoided becoming Wile E. Coyote. Yeah, that catch is the highlight for me. Haven't seen something like that in a long, long time.
Glenn Yates.
I'm buying the composure of the Florida Gators. There was a dust-up early in the game. Half of the Clemson dugout was out ready to fight. They stayed calm. They take those 2 blows from Camarella, and they're still laying down bunts in the 13th to get it around and score. Senior
This is
leadership
a team
from that squad.
that was floating
in the
around
championship last year.
500. You couldn't know if they were going to put it together. A better team than their record would suggest, and now advancing the way they did. It's Florida, and it's Yates for Faceoff.
With Omaha coming up in the Men's College World Series, I got to give some props to the Pac-12 baseball conference. Oregon State and Oregon had their chance to make it to the Final 8, and they didn't. That means that there will be no representative from the conference that has won more baseball titles than any other in NCAA history at 29. That's twice as many almost as any other conference. To think that this is another chapter of the end of the Conference of Champions is really tough and really sad, but I will always remember Kyle Peterson on the mound for Stanford in those classes, Omaha native. That's what college baseball is all about, man. It's too bad the Pac-12 is not there.
On a 23.5-hour break. We'll see you tomorrow.